Hello, and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I have a question. Why does God need a starship?
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss The Reflecting Skin, which came out in 1990, written and directed by Philip Ridley. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Seth, a young boy growing up in rural America in what could be the 1950s. His friends start to mysteriously die around him, and we see a black Cadillac in the background. But Seth also suspects the English lady who lives near him might be a vampire. Or it could all be in his head.
You ever seen a vampire, Pa?
No, I haven't, son. Then again, I ain't been looking.
This is a film that is, even by the director's account, surprising that it has lasted and it exists to this day.
Wow.
Because after the film came out to some fanfare at the at film festivals, when it actually came time to put the film out into the mainstream, there was nobody there for it. This film just kind of collapsed, imploded, and vanished.
Wow.
There was very few copies of the prints made, and after years and years, the director kind of, almost stopped making films. It was almost every 5 years then he would make films.
Yeah, like he's only done 3, but he's done a lot of stage work.
Exactly,
like a lot of story literature.
He's a great writer as well, which is why he has some sort of, acclaim behind him.
Yeah.
And it was because of fans and those that remember the film and have seen clips and pieces of the film that have sort of resurfaced over time.
Yeah.
That there was a build-up of demand to actually see this film in its entirety. And they managed to get the original prints and restore the film and re-release it on Blu-ray.
Wow.
Which is how we managed to see the film now. And it's just amazing that this film that was kind of really forgotten has managed to be resurfaced and reprinted. For those that missed it or didn't have the opportunity to see it at the time, to actually see it now.
Yeah. I mean, I never saw it back in 1990. I mean, it didn't turn up on my radar at all. Might have seen a trailer at some point, like at the beginning of a VHS.
Right.
But it was on our early list, maybe our 3rd year of doing the show. It was, we've got to do this review. And I was just like, okay. And I remember wikiing it and watching the trailer and being prepared to watch this film, but I can't remember why we didn't do it. I think there were 2 films that we could choose, and so we chose the second one. So then 5 years later, it's like, hey, we've got to do The Reflecting Skin. I'm like, I know that film, but I've never seen it. The fact that the director Philip Ridley had also done Heartless. Now, we did the review for Heartless, and it's not great. It's all right. I mean, seriously, I've seen a lot worse since Heartless. So, take it with a pinch of salt. But he'd also done The Passion of Darkly Noon with Brendan Fraser.
Right.
Now, I've seen the trailer for that, and that looked like some crazy shit.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's now definitely on my to-watch list.
Yeah. But this film, I mean, whoa. I mean, we were discussing this before we put the camera on. There's a lot of ways you can look at this film. So I'm going to just give my view of what I think's going on, and I think you'll probably give yours, because we follow Seth. It's this beautiful cornfield shot.
Just to jump in with some trivia for you straight away.
Right, okay, yeah.
That before the crew and the camera and the actors all turned up on set every day, director Philip Ridley was out there with his spray paints, and he sprayed that entire cornfield, and he did it almost every day to make sure that it was the tint of yellow and orange that he wanted for every shot. So all that corn, it's all been spray painted to look that way.
Wow.
That was dedication to the director and his craft and making sure that it looked, because there was no color correction and After Effects and
the color in this film. I'm glad we brought it up now. The color in this film is it's on point. Yeah. From the yellow of the corn.
Well, again, because the director, when they were putting the Blu-ray together, he got to come in and just go, no, tint it, saturate it, and adjust it so that the Blu-ray or the modern version of the film looks exactly how he intended it 30 years ago.
Yeah. Like I said, we got Seth walking through this cornfield to meet up with his friends, and they have this frog. Oh my God. They all argue among each other about which one of them is going to blow up the frog's ass. and set it ready for like this is an improvised explosive device. You know, they lay it on the path of the road and hide in the cornfield, and we see this beautiful English lady, Lindsay Duncan, playing the Dolphin character. She's just coming walking down, and she stands out. I mean, the black, her kind of white pasty skin to the sun drenched backgrounds of Middle America, and she sees this frog, like I had trouble wondering if it was real or not.
Right.
You know, I mean, at some points I'm like, that's definitely a fake frog, but then sometimes it just looked. I mean, we're talking Jim Henson, well enough special effects there, because when Seth pops up with that slingshot and shoots that frog and it explodes in her face and the music hits, you're like, whoa!
Again, according to Philip Ridley, that's where half the audience got up out of their seats and left the cinema.
Really?
Well, this is 1990, you know, it's audience wasn't quite ready for exploding frog death, you know, animal cruelty and children behaving this way.
Really? Cannibal Ferox and Holocaust have been out a long time leading up to 1990.
Yeah, but if you're going to cinema with a title called Cannibal Ferox, you know, or Cannibal
Holocaust,
I suppose,
you
know what you're getting into.
Well, the reflecting skin doesn't really tell you much. But I mean, it was so shocking as well because, you know,
it's the fact that the camera just lingers on her haunted expression, you know, just the complete disbelief and shock that this frog just exploded in front of her and covered her in blood and frog guts.
Yeah, like there's a connection there. Starts off with her and Seth, and then when Seth gets home, the whole view of his, you know, you got the garage, you know, the petrol pumps, the little house in the background. I mean, we're talking fucking Sawyer Family, Texas Chainsaw Massacre level shit here, but it really sets the time. You know, for me, I'm like, okay, we're looking at 1950s America at this point, and when Seth goes into his house, you know, you see this massive shrine to the son who's away in the army. And I'm like, okay, so we're coming off the back of World War II at the moment.
Sure.
He's still away. And the mum is just complaining about how it stinks of gasoline.
Gasoline and grease.
And you don't get it at first, but it starts to slowly come in about that the mum is slightly unhinged.
Yeah.
Slightly. You know?
She's incredibly unbalanced. But then again, all of the characters in this film are. And this film kind of gives you an insight into all of these really unlikable characters.
Well, I don't know about unlikable. The situations they're in, for me, make them... Like, some of the characters are really off-putting. Like, the mum is... The dad's fine. But then you find out stuff about him, and I'm like... Okie dokie.
Well, one of the first things that put me off with the film to begin with was the awful acting. I really didn't like the line delivery of any of the child actors together.
The lip sync did seem a bit off at some points.
I don't know whether it was the lip sync or whether it was that the audio didn't sound like it was coming from within the room. Or whether their deliveries were just very, very staged, very flat, very... Yeah,
I can go with that. Like
there was no chemistry between them and it was just line deliveries.
Someone who doesn't blink. They go to heaven and become an angel. That's not so, Aben. Your ma's in a coffin being eaten by worms. Not so.
That's how it felt, and so it was a little bit jarring at first to kind of ease into the film.
Well, I mean, for me, it did feel very awkward. There's a sequence where the mum comes and sits down and she's talking about how Cameron's going to come back and she wants a better house and she wants the place to stop smelling of gasoline. One day the husband's going to go outside into the sun and he's going to burst into flames. And she goes to reach over and touch Seth's hand and he just moves his hand away. You know, and I'm like, oh, he don't get on with you.
Right.
Him and his father, when Seth and his dad go outside and they start to man the gas pumps, you know, he's like, oh, do you want some water? And the dad's like, yeah, okay, you should drink some or you're going to turn into dust. And there's just like a loving father-son relationship there. And the dad's telling him that, you know, he's reading this book about vampires. And to them, it's like the first time they've ever really heard anything about vampires. I start to sink into the fact that everything is from Seth's perspective.
Oh, absolutely.
So if things seem a little bit weird or over the top, it's because I'm looking at the perspective from a 9-year-old boy. And it especially comes out when the dad's talking about vampires and we see that black Cadillac coming down the road. And I'm like, it's full of vampires!
Well, yeah, I mean, we also had the lady from the beginning, after the frog explosion. She turns up at their house.
Yeah.
And is speaking to the mother. And she's trying to... And she's basically just saying about what happened.
Yeah, yeah.
And Seth kind of believes that she is a vampire himself.
Yes.
Especially after learning about vampires from his dad. And
which contradicts, because his dad should have been like, oh, he doesn't go out. He says, doesn't he? They avoid sunlight.
Yeah.
And she blatantly walks out in sunlight, but from a near dark perspective,
sure,
she does kind of cover herself up, and so do
other than her arms.
Wait, Twilight.
Yeah.
But the guys in the black Cadillac.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's why they don't get out of the car. But my mind, like I said, I'm seeing it from the perspective of a 10-year-old boy, 9-year-old boy.
But he gets totally invested in this story, and we get that sequence where he's, it's the middle of the night, and he's turned the light on, and he's trying to read this vampire story.
Yeah,
and the mum comes in, it's just like, no, turn the light off, you're going to bed.
Yeah.
And, she leaves, and straight away he's out with the matches, ready to relight the fire. She catches him, she walks straight back in, and she's like, right, water! And she takes him downstairs, and she pretty much waterboards the poor boy.
Was there a downstairs? I'm pretty sure the house was just...
one floor.
Yeah, but she does. She just, cup after cup. And kudos to the fucking young boy actor, Jeremy Cooper. His heart was in this fucking role, I felt.
Right,
I mean...
yeah.
Maybe the delivery was off at some point. It just didn't feel realistic some points. But, he's cupping down these cups. I don't know how many takes it takes to get a really good sequence. So I'm drowning. And I'm like, where's the dad? Why is the dad not stopping this? And the dad comes in with his friend or another guy who lives nearby, who's the father of one of Seth's friends. And the father's saying about how, his little boy, I think it's called Eben, hasn't come home. He's missing. And I'm like, oh. But the dad was all awkward, crushed up at the end of the sofa. He's just trying to ignore the whole conversation. The mum, Seth kind of looked at it as an escape though, because now he doesn't have to keep drinking water.
Right.
But everybody's completely uncomfortable. And I did like the fact that he got into his bed and he broke his slingshot and turned it into a crucifix to hold on to at night.
Yeah, because he believed that the vampires maybe have gotten his friend or that it was real. And so, Ross, that was a good slingshot there.
Seth is made by his mother to go to Dolphin's house and to apologise for the frog, and so he goes there, and
it's very ominous, isn't it? Just that shot of the house with the corn.
And
the way it's framed.
The way it's framed, the colour, the lighting. He walks into this house and she's uncomfortable to be around, but I realise that that's just me. There's something about her that I don't like, because I'm seeing it from Seth's point of view. I don't want to be around her, but she's really nice. And she's trying to be nice. She's trying to be friendly. She's trying to look after him. Maybe because she recognises that he's troubled at home. That fucking harpoon she gives him.
She's like, my ancestors were whalers.
Well, her husband's families were all whalers, and he was a whaler before he became a farmer. But then one day she goes out to the barn and finds him, he's hung himself. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And there's a whole description, of how beautiful he was.
Well, she's and it's ruined her life to an extent where
she's broken.
All this time she is absolutely broken and that's why she still wears black all the time.
Yep.
She's forever mourning his the loss of him, and she's never fully recovered. And I think she kind of sees something in Seth that maybe he's in a similar kind of mental state for whatever reason, and so she kind of connects and bonds with him.
Well, yeah, she has that thing about children, saying about how she used to stick fireworks on Castells and set fire to fireworks.
So the whole frog thing, she's like, well, whatever.
Yeah, that's fine. But when they had that situation with the box, and she's like, this is his teeth, and this is my husband's hair, and then she finally gets to the aftershave and she smells him, and she literally completely breaks down in front of Seth. I was just like, oh my God, just the emotion coming from this actress. I'm just like, I'm completely heartbroken. But she'd already told him that she was like 200 years old.
Right.
And so he's like, now, yeah, mine's gone. Oh, she's a vampire. He tells his other friend, Cam, she's a vampire. She keeps her husband in a black box. She literally absorbed all of his life because there's nothing but his teeth and his hair left. And I'm like, yeah, she totally is. But watch out for the vampires driving around in a black Cadillac stealing children.
Yeah, but then they also find that weird kind of the box with the fetus angel thing in it.
No, let's not go to that fetus bit yet, because first they've got to find Eben's body.
Yes.
And
they find him in the water well.
Yeah. Yeah, Dad, do you want some water? Yeah, okay. And he runs over and he just lifts it up and he's like, Eben. And I'm like, oh fuck no. Being a parent, just difficult to sit through sometimes.
Yeah.
But the police start to investigate the dad. And the story starts to reveal that something happened years ago between Sheriff Ticker and Seth's dad, Luke, where Sheriff Ticker caught him in a barn with a 17-year-old boy, and they were kissing. So I'm like, oh my God, the dad's gay? What? And
evidently, yeah, which is kind of, at this point of time is kind of destroyed this family, which kind of explains some of the erratic and repressed behaviors of Seth's parents.
Yeah.
But still, you're then wondering, because the dad looks guilty.
And the dad, after the policeman's left, the mum breaks down and she's like, I can't go through this again. I can't go through it. What have you done? And he's kind of sat there I kind of felt like the dad was thinking, have I done it? Did I do it? I don't.
Did he blank out again?
What have I done? And he just walks outside and he just starts covering himself in gasoline and getting the matches ready. And Seth is watching all of this happen, and I'm getting ready for the big bang, but the director did it so well.
Yeah, the dad's last kind of look at the camera, at the audience, and at Seth, and maybe I'm misremembering it, but it fades to black, and you hear the match stroke, and then it's the inferno afterwards.
Well, it's all kind of simultaneous. You hear the pa, and the dad looks up and goes, Seth, and as he says Seth, he flicks it, and it cuts to black, and then Seth's fingers start to come away at first POV.
I love that shot, yeah.
There's a blazing fire. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Mum's there, the sheriff's there. Eben's dad is there, Seth is there. And, I know it wasn't the dad, but then later on, when the sheriff starts to make you think, I know your dad there, you're still alive out there doing stuff. And I'm like, is he? I don't know anymore because I may have seen something. Viggo Mortensen comes back after the father has been buried.
It's like 40 minutes into the film.
Yeah, but what an entrance. Him.
I love the shot. Yeah, him coming over the horizon and just waving.
It's the king, mate. It's the fucking king. They got united armies and saved like a whole. Well, that's like 10 years from now. But he's gonna Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 and all that kind of stuff. Carlito's Way. There's a lot to go through. But I saw him and I'm like, oh man, I'm in it for the long haul now. I've had some reservations with some of the stuff going on, but at the moment you've pulled me back in now, film.
Sure, yeah, and it's an interesting point in time for him to return as well.
Yeah,
and straight away you just see that real loving embrace between Cameron and Seth as they just kind of hug.
Yeah,
it's the first time they've been reunited in however long, and and then you have all those kind of catch up and bonding sessions. You see the uncomfortable kind of hug with Cameron and his mother.
Mum. Yeah, it's
just kind of really awkward.
Yeah, and then they go to the dad's grave, and I really love that whole, that they kind of love their dad, with everything. And my mind really started to settle into hey, this is real. This is real kind of life. This isn't imaginary horror. There's a killer going to jump out with a mask, actual vampires, mystery. This is actual real life. Cameron has grown up with his dad, and he even says, you never stood a chance, Dad. She sucked the life out of you. I'm surprised this didn't happen sooner. you know, and I'm like, wow, and Seth's going through this as well. But then when you have that meet between Cameron and Dolphin
at the graveyard, yeah,
which is made even more awkward when Sheriff Ticker turns up, and kudos to the director. He's got a fake hand, he's got an eye patch, he's got a ripped off ear. All of this done by animals. Not one human monster has ever done anything to him. It's all. I was just like, oh, this is great.
Bizarre character. But then straight away Cameron and Seth have a falling out because Cameron straight away becomes infatuated with Dolphin.
Yes.
To the point where he kind of pushes his brother away and yells at him to get lost.
Yeah.
And he follows Dolphin.
After the aggressive actions at the graveyard, Seth heads off to that dilapidated barn with a crucifix on top, which I thought was fucking amazingly put. Because it was like a sanctuary for him and his friends to go, but every time they leave, one of them gets picked off. And him and his friend Cam are in there, and they find the dead fetus.
Yeah.
Which I only connected to that sequence earlier with the two twins. They're walking down the road and just like making weird noises, but I thought they were carrying the weird egg thing.
Right.
You know, with the fetus inside. I didn't actually go back to look at it because I was quite terrified. But when the boys find it and they open it up, they're like, it's an angel. You know, this is an angel. Every time you make your mama cry, an angel dies. And Eben died and he's become an angel, but he's come back because he was murdered. And Seth and Cameron have this little fight argument about who gets to keep it. And now Seth is going to keep this fetus with him in his room. I'm like, what the? Like... Sure. Okay. I mean, practically doing everything else in this movie. Might as well just have like... And it brings in the factor of, like, rotting flesh. Like, he's talking to this thing.
Yeah, like it's responding.
The actor Jeremy Cooper really made me believe like he was hearing something from the fetus.
Sure.
That we couldn't hear. You know, and like he was telling it his deepest feelings because he couldn't tell his mum, he couldn't tell his brother, his dad was dead. And Seth really starts to believe that Dolphin is sucking the life from his brother. Because every time he goes there, he comes back and he's really tired.
But also he's finding hair in his comb as well.
Yes, and he's looking thinner. And we get that amazing sequence where Seth follows Viggo, Cameron, to Dolphin's house. And the two of them are sat up in the attic or in the bedroom. Because early in the film, actually Seth and Cam had destroyed her bedroom.
Yeah.
The bastards.
Right. Yeah, and killing frogs, destroying people's property, misbehaving.
Yeah. But you got Cameron and Dolphin sat up in the attic, and she's talking about how she loves bombs and explosions and noises, and Viggo Mortensen delivers this breathtaking, amazing piece to the camera about how he was stood on the ships in the Pacific while they were detonating nukes, just to see what they would do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're fucking dead, mate.
Yeah, he is dying from radiation poisoning. Mm-hmm. Whether he knows it, which I think he kind of does, or not.
Yeah.
But he's definitely lost a part of himself.
Oh yeah,
in the Pacific,
PTSD,
and now
totally.
But now things are also falling off of him.
Yeah.
So he's literally losing himself as well. But she's also a lost character, and so the two of them together are just kind of, it's not a sex scene, but it is a love scene.
Yeah.
Where the two of them are kind of there for each other at that moment.
He strips. Oh, she takes his clothes off, or he strips. I mean, Viggo Mortensen's naked in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of naked in the physical sense, but he's also naked in the metaphorical sense.
Oh yeah,
where he's revealed everything to her.
She's clothed.
Yeah,
she's clothed in that sequence, and she like I was wondering, like, did Seth think, because he's watching through the door, did Seth think she's killed him or drained the last of his life or something? Because he literally just runs at this point and starts running down the road, and we see his friend Cam running with the flag, and as he's running down the road, the black Cadillac pulls up, and the 5 greasers just grab him and throw him in the back of the car and drive away. And that fucking terrified me. Yeah, I've seen a lot of shit in my time, a lot of horror shit, and we all laugh and joke about it. But four grown men grabbing a smaller person, bundle them in the car, and that's it. You're never going to see that person again. We see the family later on, Cam's family, upset and screaming, and the mum, she is right in Seth's face. You're a sinner. It's your fault, because this family must be heavily religious.
Sure.
And my mind's going, where the fuck did the fetus come from? They look like the twins. The dad looks like he like doesn't know, but the policeman finds the body just covered in the flag, and walks out of the little kind of barn shed with him, and the family just break down. We cut to the sequence where Seth is he's just in bed with the fetus, and he knows like something is wrong, and he kind of garners this plan of getting rid of Dolphin before she kills his brother.
Yeah.
And it cuts to the next day, and he's walking down the road, and we see Dolphin in white.
Maybe, she's done mourning now. She's moving on.
Yeah, well, she is. She says to Seth, like, I'm in love with your brother. And we'd already heard Cameron say before, I'm in love with her. We're both in love with each other. We're going to run away together, and we're just going to live our lives. And it's like a sign of hope. Like, oh my God, there's going to be some beauty in the world. And her in white really got me. But then she starts to talk to Seth about how it's a nightmare being innocent, because you're just going to grow old and everything's going to fall off.
Yeah.
You're going to fart and piss and shit yourself, and bits are going to fall, and you're going to lose your hair. And she goes through the list. Now, not a fake made up list. This is full on going to
human condition. Yeah.
You'll succumb to arthritis, angina, senile dementia. You'll piss yourself, shit yourself, drool at the mouth.
And while she's delivering all this, we watch the black Cadillac coming down the road. And you're looking at Seth's face like, he seems happy, like something's going on. But she finishes what she's saying, which kind of brought me back to Dolphin being like the innocent character, with her saying, as long as you can find somebody to love you while you're going through all of that,
then you'll never grow old.
Then you'll never grow old. You'll always remain young.
Just pray that when this happens, you've got someone to love you. Because if you're loved, you'll still be young.
And then the black Cadillac pulls up, and they're like, oh, where are you going? And she's like, I'm going into town. Where are you going? Oh, we can go into town as well. And Seth just watches her get into the car. And I'm like, bye. See ya.
Yeah. And it's not long before we cut to the roadside, and there's an investigation. There are police officers.
Yeah.
And we see Seth and Cameron, and we watch Cameron come over and find...
Well, that's it. They see it from their house.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really weird, that like Eben was found nearby in the water well,
the house, yeah.
And now the girl has been dropped there. Like, these greaser fucking psycho killers are purposely kind of torturing this little boy. What? They want him, but they can't get to him, so they're killing everybody else around him. But you see Cameron just break down over Dolphin's body. And then you see Seth being kind of pulled to the ground by his mother, because his mother is losing it as well. And Seth just gets up and runs off, and we get that long shot, lingering shot of the sunlight, the sun setting behind him, and the shadowed form of Seth just screaming, no!
I literally thought, watching the film then, I thought he was literally just going to turn to dust. Like his dad had said at the beginning, but he was just picking up dirt and dropping out of his hands. So I was like, oh, but because of the silhouette, it looked like dust. So I thought maybe it just aged all the way up into the point of death in that one moment. Because the whole film being a kind of metaphor for lots of different things.
Yeah.
But no, it's an intense moment where he is just screaming and screaming and screaming. And you think it's over, and then he carries on screaming again until the film ends.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck.
Exactly.
So Ian, what did the film mean to you?
Man, it was so real. Like this film, there were no. I wanted a fantasy element to turn up just to kind of explain what the fuck was going on.
Supernatural and vampires.
Yeah, something supernatural to come along and say to me like, this is really it. Like, but it wasn't. Everything was just so realistic, so real life, just so everyday. Like, that's what really made it so horrible inside, because I'm like, I can totally relate to that. I can totally believe that 5 people just drove down the road and stole a little boy and then did things to him that was so horrendous that I don't ever want to know, you know. But the same with the mum waterboarding Seth. Yeah. You know, she's annoyed that he's turned on his light at night, you know, and pulls him out of his bed and makes him waterboard. I can totally believe that somewhere in the world somebody has done that at one time to a small child, and now that child is growing up with a mental mindset. I mean, we said before the film, you know, you said to me like, oh yeah, what happens if he was the killer? And my brain went, no.
Yeah, and it is a possibility that, you know, the Black Cadillac, it didn't exist. And that Seth, you know, we see him, the beginning of the film shows us him, you know, mutilating and killing a frog. We then see him destroy this woman's house.
He's talking to a fetus.
Is it too much of a step to say that he killed his friends and then also killed this woman because he was jealous of her taking his brother away? My mind was blown watching this film, and I loved watching interviews with the director, who pretty much just explains that the whole film takes place like some 30 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, an unknown amount of time ago, and Seth is remembering events to the best of his ability.
Yep.
And so he is an unreliable narrator.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's lying to himself, he's lying to you, the audience. But it's like maybe this was his entire childhood of summers condensed into 3 weeks. And so therefore, events are all jumbled up.
Yeah.
You know, did things happen the way that he's presented them to us in this film or not? So it's kind of like everything then is just exaggerated. You know, it wasn't really like that, but it was close. It was similar too. And as a result of that, every time you watch and rewatch this film, you can go into it with a different mindset and see lots of different things, and it depends on where you're coming from as a person as to how you'll reflect upon this film.
I like what you did there.
Yeah, and that's the reason why it's the reflecting skin.
Well, I was waiting for that to come up in the film. I'm like, what? The time's got me in something. And when it gets to that kitchen sequence where they're looking at the picture of the baby, you know, and Seth is just asking questions, and Cameron's getting annoyed, but I'm like, he's a 10-year-old boy, you know, 9-year-old boy. He's asking questions. This is the best thing. This is like fucking Twitch internet to this kid at this point.
Right.
Having 3 photos, one of him and his brother happy, you know, and loving another time, one of a naked woman, and one of a baby with radiation, you know, burns.
Yeah.
My favourite scenes, I mean, I found it quite difficult to actually, like, say where I wanted to, what was my favourite, because everything really just caught my attention right off the beginning. You know, and it was too easy to go, oh yeah, the whole film, yeah, just don't worry. You know, so I was waiting for pinnacle moments in the movie, and I wasn't disappointed. I mean, the moment where Dolphin smells her husband's aftershave.
It's so intense.
Oh, it's so emotional. Like, if I ever felt like that way to somebody, you know, I can totally understand why she wears black and hides indoors and doesn't do anything. You know, because the smallest thing will set you off.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't mean setting you off in a bad way. It's just, you know, maybe you take some time to try to avoid those memories because you can't function when you realize.
Totally debilitating.
Yeah. And then she smells it and she breaks down. The cut sequence, we already said it, with the eyes and the hands coming away when Pa blows himself up. Oh, fucking, I mean, Avengers Endgame, you got some shit, yeah, but Philip Ridley was there kind of first with some intense sequences to make you whoa.
See, I mean, throughout watching the film, I kept getting that Twin Peaks feeling.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, because all the characters just seem off. And that's because, it's not reality, you know, it is a memory, and a false memory at that, and so that's why everyone doesn't quite behave.
Well, I mean, well, to me, they were very realistic to the elements that they're in, the environment they're in. I mean, they are so far off the grid.
Yeah.
Viggo, talking about his father at the grave with Seth, you know, there was some real father-son love there. And I really loved the way that Seth was kind of copying Cameron, you know, he kind of crouches down, they crouch down, puts his hands in his pockets, pulls his jacket out. Did your daddy ever touch you with the sheriff? I didn't think that conversation could ever get any more awkward, but then I didn't think it could get really funny, you know, because it's like, did he ever touch you? What do you mean, in the kitchen? No, not in the kitchen. Anywhere other than the kitchen? What, like outside the kitchen? And he's just like, did he ever touch you there? And he touches Seth with his fake hand, which I'm like, okay, it's lucky, you know, you get in trouble for that shit now. And Seth's like, no. But, you know, to Seth, he doesn't know about his father and his father's homosexual relationship. You know, the relationship with his mum and how she's like, she forced him into marriage to stop him. You know, growing up in that time and being in love with a man or a woman, well, that was a death sentence, pretty much, in some places. And this sheriff, he wasn't a bad guy, but it was weird.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Cameron giving the whole speech in the attic, you know, at this, the whole thing about the nuclear bombs, you know, the way he feels. It's just, and then obviously, like you said, the breakdown of the love sequence after, like there's no unknown truth that I do wiki films, and when I read it, you know, plot wise, they were to make love, you know, and obviously we know that Wiki's wrong. So when I saw it on TV, I'm like, she's still clothed. Oh, well, that's weird, but it's very loving.
Sure, yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
They are coming together. They're
You're
both
happy for the
apart.
two of them. Yeah.
Yes. And my final sequence, because it still terrifies me and kind of sticks in my mind, is that moment where the black Cadillac comes down and not only takes the little boy but takes Dolphin as well.
Sure, yeah, but it's
Like,
haunting.
it's like seeing Christine come down the road.
Sure.
You know, you see a certain car come down the road, you're like, I'm going this way, you know, or I'm gonna hide or something.
I'm gonna avoid that.
Yeah, but just, you know, the way they come down, and you know, when they grab the little boy, he's off. And, you know, and when they're talking to Dolphin, they're really nice. Actually, can I just throw one more sequence in?
Sure.
The twins.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Wah, 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 wah.
Well, it's like, are they cooing to this seagull?
I don't. No.
But like I said, it's the kid's memory of these two, so he doesn't quite remember what they were saying, and so it's just been translated now into that.
It just popped in my head. I was just so weirdly filmed as well. Just the way they pass each other.
Yeah, and the way they look at him, yeah, it's just freaky. Yeah, there are so many like memorable moments. I mean, I've got my favourites, but the memorable moment, you're not going to forget that frog exploding at the beginning of the film.
Yeah,
the mother waterboarding her son. You know, it's just like. Just that imagery of him choking on the water.
Yeah, no.
Disturbing. The dad's death, you know, with him out there after he's poured the gasoline all over himself, and just the way he's just looking, like the last moment of contemplation.
Yeah.
Before he just grabs the matches. It's haunting.
Like I feel like he wouldn't have done it if like the moment he saw Seth, he would have.
I mean, because with the whole film being a memory, I'm just like, was it an accident? Did he commit suicide? Did the dad just leave one day?
That's it.
And the boy's just remembering and just making up this story because it's helped his psyche? Or
the sheriff brings it back up, and people attack the house. Your father's still alive because kids are still dying.
Right.
And like we said, Seth is the only one who talks about the black Cadillac, but he doesn't or sees it. He just doesn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
You know.
Or if other people are getting into it, it's because Seth is in his memory allowing them to interact with it because Seth is responsible or not.
Yeah, I mean, are they real?
Yeah, but I guess my absolute favourite moment in the film is between Dolphin and Seth, and it's when she's talking to him, and she says, "Sometimes evil things happen, quite naturally."
Yes,
and it's just like no matter how good you are. You know, sometimes shit happens, right?
You're gonna
right, and it's just like, that is true.
Yeah, and that's what set me on the whole wave of this film's just real life. Yeah. You know, you like we've said, there are multiple pathways, multiple ways you can talk about it, but for me, it's just fundamentally this happened at this time to this little boy. I mean, he might be remembering it wrong. He might, for me, he's remembering it perfectly exact detail, You know, there was a black Cadillac and a group of greasers driving around, kidnapping people around where he lived. And he lived so far out in the fucking sticks. You know, it was just a killing spree for 3 weeks. And he's losing everybody. He's going to lose his brother, his dad. He's going to be left with his mum. And he's just so angry. You know, how the fuck is he going to get out of this place? I totally recommend The Reflecting Skin, but personally I am never watching it again because it was dark, you know.
You definitely have to be in the right mindset to put this film on.
Oh yeah,
you know, you have to be in the right mood.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't, maybe, yeah, like it's that good. Like if you're a lover of film, you know, that you've never seen it, like a lot of people haven't, you'll be like, oh my God, that's amazing. But it gut punches you. It kicks you in the face. It's dark. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I feel I can relate to it on too many levels that I'm like, ooh, no, I mean, the sheriff, yeah, he was funny, but Viggo Mortensen's monologue about radiation poisoning is the reason, but kind of why I don't want to watch Chernobyl as well. I don't want to watch people melt. You know, the whole thing with the mum. Hey, you know, I didn't have a great relationship with my mum, but damn, that's going too far. Dolphin is beautiful, but then just everything she talks about is death. You know, death, and I feel really upset and bad for her.
Sure, yeah.
The film, like I said, I've seen it once and I'm like, brilliant, I'm good. Put it over there. But if you haven't seen it, fucking hit it up.
Definitely, yeah. I'm definitely going to be highly recommending this film. It's a really thought-provoking and disturbing experience with lots of layers and themes to revisit and explore on additional viewings. It does have a slow pace and it does have very unlikable characters. And that kind of may put some people off. Or you'll just be drawn into this world as seen by an 8-year-old boy who is misremembering events and externally portraying his confusion on screen for us to bear witness to.
Yeah.
It's a very unique film with great, I'd say awesome cinematography by Dick Pope and some haunting music by Nick Bouquet.
Oh, God, yeah.
This was not a film for the mainstream, but it deserves critical acclaim and recognition and praise.
Oh, yeah.
It is a cult movie for sure. It's a damn near masterpiece in filmmaking brilliance. So I definitely recommend The Reflecting Skin. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
Sometimes terrible things happen quite naturally.